Shadow Minister Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for the advanced sight of his statement. Today might be his last appearance at the Dispatch Box, so I want to pay tribute to him for focusing his last appearance on such an important issue for the LGBT+ community. I want to begin my response by thanking Lord Etherton and his team for their diligent work in completing this review into the pre-2000 ban on LGBT+ serving personnel in the UK Armed Forces. And as the Leader of the Opposition said at PMQs, we strongly welcome the apology from the Prime Minister as a recognition of this historic injustice. The review represents very important progress in recognising the injustice LGBT+ veterans have suffered and recommends a framework to enable LGBT+ veterans to rebuild their lives and get the resolution they need. On behalf of the Labour Party, I pay tribute to LGBT+ veterans and groups like Fighting with Pride, who have campaigned for justice over this appalling treatment. It was right for the government to have launched the review, reflecting proposals put forward by the Labour Party during the passage of the Armed Forces Act. The loss of livelihoods and long-term suffering endured by LGBT+ veterans due to the cruel and unjust ban has been enormous. LGBT+ veterans put their lives at risk to protect our country. They were our nation's heroes, yet suffered a serious injustice. As a consequence of the ban, we now know that around 20,000 LGBT+ military personnel were jailed, dismissed, outed to their families, or subject to abuse simply because of their sexuality or gender identity. This should have never happened. Many lost a job they loved, their income, pension and honours, and those dishonourably discharged were banned from wearing their military uniform at remembrance events. Many more were forced to conceal their true identity. The review also references the shocking and appalling treatment of serving LGBT+ personnel, including the disgraceful use of electric shock therapy. No one across the whole of society should be subjected to that awful practice. I've spoken to brave LGBT+ veterans impacted by the ban. They told me how they lost careers they loved, suffered disgraceful abuse, and still suffer the impact of the ban, all for simply being themselves. Many LGBT+ veterans showed exceptional courage to reach back into traumatic memories to contribute to the review. 1,128 people responded to the review, sharing their lived experiences, and it's important their testimonies are heard to ensure the LGBT+ community has a sense of ownership of the report. Today's commitments represent the beginning of the process. We must now see immediate action from the government to implement the review's recommendations, as it will begin the process of helping LGBT+ veterans get the resolution they need and in some cases rebuild their lives. The Secretary of State has said the government agrees with the intent behind the recommendations, but may deliver a number of them in a different way to described in the report. So will he outline to the House which recommendations will be delivered in a different way to that set out in the report? How has this been decided? And whether government will work with LGBT+ veterans and third sector groups to ensure they are delivered appropriately. We fully support giving back medals to LGBT+ veterans and ending the ban on those dishonourably discharged due to their sexuality or gender identity from wearing uniform at remembrance ceremonies. And I hope the Minister will outline how veterans can seek the return of their medals. Recommendation 28 states that an appropriate financial award should be made to affected veterans. How is the Defence Secretary and the Chancellor planning to take this forward? Any proposed compensation scheme must be accessible to all veterans affected, whether they were dishonourably discharged, medically discharged at the time because of their sexuality, or dismissed while under investigation. The recommendations relating to mental health and physical welfare must be delivered in an inclusive manner, recognising all LGBT+ veterans and the different ways they were affected by the ban and dismissed. So can the Minister assure the House and the LGBT+ community that this is an issue his department is actively considering? The government must do whatever it takes to successfully implement the recommendations, and we look forward to the government's full response and to the future debate. We cannot right the wrongs of the past, but we can help LGBT+ veterans now fix their lives damaged for too long by this ban.